Have you ever wanted to play a game where you can mash the absolute hell out of zombies wielding weaponry as they in turn beat the ever-living shit out of you, forcing you to be banished to the you died realm on multiple occasions whilst you try to tell yourself that you're not a masochist? Then let me introduce you to Grimlord. Now Grimlord is a very interesting game to me because it's not quite like the other combat-driven virtual reality titles that we've got. It's definitely not as stabby as London Simulator, but on the other hand it isn't quite as brutal as Hellsplit Arena. It's in fact quite similar to the Souls games in a sense, but on the other hand Souls-like games have kind of lost their meaning recently because a lot of people tend to look at hard and difficult games as a Souls game just because it's difficult, and trust me, this game is without a shadow of the doubt one of the most difficult things I've ever played on my headset. But that isn't quite the reason why I make the point that it's like a Souls game. To give you a better understanding, let me explain a bit. Basically, as soon as you open the game up, it looks absolutely stunning, which wasn't really that surprising. I say wasn't really because first off, the game is just a demo at the moment. It's like very early stage, so that was kind of shocking. But on the other half, it was also created in Unreal Engine 5, which kind of explains the hyper-realistic leaves in the area. Anyways, now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at the Souls references. Probably the most notable one is the weapons, or the stats of the weapons I should say, because surprisingly enough they give you the option to make your own weapon. Like you can choose grips and the sword or whatever other thing you want to use. You could choose a mace or a dagger or an axe or even a mage staff if you want to just bully them with magic. Because just like Dark Souls, magic is one of the most overpowered things you can use in this game because you can just spam the frost spell over and over and over again. Like, I don't think you fully understand just how broken this piece of equipment is. I had to basically force myself to use any other weapon apart from the staff. Whilst we're on the topic of weapons though, please don't do the same thing I did, and if you lose weapons when you die, go to this chest because it'll have all of your equipment that you've lost in it. It took me like a solid 10 minutes to fully figure this system out, and that was after I lost all of my gold from dying repeatedly, so I couldn't purchase a new weapon, and so I just decided to bare fist punch these zombies in the face. And in case you were wondering, it did absolutely nothing. Well, apart from having the enemies take pity on my poor frail little body and end it as quickly as possible. And if somehow magically you manage to get past all these enemies and finally make it to the boss's arena, because yes, there is a boss in this game, he will proceed to fracture your rectum multiple times and show the littlest remorse in doing so. I'm not even kidding. A head-on melee encounter with this guy is just not going to work. I've tried multiple times, with each of those attempts being a complete failure. So what can you exactly do for this scenario? Well, you have two options. The first option is to just leave it and exit the game, which is what I was going to do. I was just going to leave him be and make this video and have it at that. Or option two, which is to just blitz him with magic. A little tip though, if you happen to play in a household of other people, try and do it when you're alone, because in order to cast a spell with the frost imbue, you need to like make a circle gesture with your arm, and to anyone who happens to see you do this and have absolutely zero idea of what you're doing, it does look like you're conjuring up Satan. And in a way, he kind of looks like Penetrator from Demon Souls, or at the very least inspired. Right, I think it's time for the not so good parts of the game. You probably knew this was already going to happen, and it's a demo so it's expected to have a certain degree of bugs. However, there was one in particular that stood out among the others that I had encountered. Well, maybe not a bug as such, but something that wasn't fully implemented, and that was the background sound. There's literally just nothing there. See what I mean? It's just quiet. It's really quiet. A bit too quiet. Another thing that hurt me just a little bit too much was the hitboxes on the enemies. Like you'd go in for a really nice jabbing thrust into one of their faces, expecting it to get impaled, and oh wait, it was in fact the chainmail you hit and not his face. And sometimes it just wouldn't even impale, he would just go flying for whatever reason. Speaking of flying, you can actually help the enemies in the game achieve just that. It was the first time I also noticed that the hand is actually one of the most broken and overpowered pieces of equipment you have. Now, I'm not really sure if this is intended to happen or not, but there would be cases where the flasks that you're given for health and mana would just not fill up when you go and reset the area. Again, I'm not sure if that's a bug or intended, because they do give you a bunch of flasks throughout the first area, so maybe you're just meant to store them, use them, and then get rid of them. I'm not really sure. The enemy AI is also pretty horrendous currently. You could be mutilating one of them that is directly next to the other and he just will not notice. Anyways, I hope those problems do get ironed out, because it is an incredibly beautiful game, and I haven't seen many virtual reality titles made in Unreal Engine 5, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this comes out in the full version, which is in fact meant to release later this year at some point, so I definitely will make sure to keep you updated when it does release. But that is all I've got for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please consider subbing to the channel. It does help me out a lot, it's completely free, and it'll let you know when I post more content, which is a win-win. And hopefully I will see you next time. Goodbye.